Yo, welcome back to another episode of On Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goaltender Nolan Egbert. Nolan most recently played with the Binghamton Black Bears in the Federal Prospects Hockey League, where he won the Commissioner's Cup this year. So congrats to him on that. But before joining the pro ranks, he played 2 years at NCAA Division III college hockey at UMass Boston, and then 2 years at SUNY Brockport as well. And even before that, he played junior hockey in the USPHL Premier and Elite League with the Junior Islanders and the Boston Junior Rangers in the EHL. So I'm very excited to have you on, Nolan. So welcome to the show, Nolan Egbert.
Glad to be here. Good talking to you, Jack.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, and I just want to wish you like congratulations on winning the Commissioner's Cup this year. Like I'm happy to have you on.
I'm happy to be here. It's definitely a crazy way to start a pro career. Makes it a little bit easier to not get a real job yet.
Oh yeah, that and you're playing hockey and making a little bit of money with it, so I can't complain.
Not at all.
Yeah, but I want to get into your first pro season a little bit here before we jump or we go back into college and then juniors, then your youth hockey days. But first year in the Fed and the FPHL with the Binghamton Black Bears, like how was the season for you individually? And obviously it was pretty good as a team if you guys won the championship.
Well, obviously a lot of people know the Fed has a reputation for being, a fighters league, basically the real life version of Slapshot, the
Yeah,
movie. But getting there and getting involved with it was a completely different experience, especially in Binghamton, a town and arena that used to host AHL teams for more than 20 years, closer to 30. So they treat you like a real professional, and you got that sort of mentality that you were a professional hockey player, not just, messing around and trying to avoid an office job for a little while longer. So it made it easier to commit and buy in.
yeah, that's for sure. And like it's a good league and everything. Like it's skilled and everything. Like it's definitely improved since the last few years. And then like it's obviously expanding this year with four new teams. It's like it's big for the league, and you love when you see progress within the league.
So yeah, absolutely. It's clear that there's good hockey to be played in more than just, the top three leagues in
Yeah.
pro hockey in North America, not just below the coast. There's still great hockey to be played, just as evidenced by the great SPHL cities and the Fed cities too.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's a bunch of cool cities. Like what were some of your favorite cities to go play in the Fed? Like obviously Binghamton is probably number one, obviously, but like what were some of the other cool cities that you guys got to visit?
Uh, well, like you said, Binghamton was special in the sense that we had a extremely passionate fan base who were
Yeah.
behind us in ways I really didn't expect going into it. But I can't help but mention Danbury and how they lived up to their reputation as a hostile fan base. Some of the best chirps I've ever heard were coming from the overhang the right above the ice. I think I heard one guy go right before the anthem, Egbert, take off your wig. It's disrespectful.
Like,
That
holy
one,
fuck, this is Danbury.
that one got me good. Or another one was I had backed up 2 games in a row there, so the same guy was there for both games, and I hear him like press his face up against the glass and say, "Hey, Egbert, getting real good at working that door, ain't you? A lot of practice." And you know what? I don't mind getting chirped as long as it's clever.
Yeah, as long as you can like laugh at it and like joke around, like it's clever, like I'll take all the chirps that I can take.
A fan base wouldn't be doing its job if it wasn't trying to heckle the other team.
Yeah, exactly. Where did you play like games in Danbury, and like did you hear any chirps from when you were playing there?
Yeah, I played some games, mostly in the second half of the year, but it was honestly once the game gets going, you don't really
Yeah.
hear anything going on. Just as a goaltender, I'm sure you understand. It's you just kind of get into a sort of mentality where nothing is going on around you except the puck and maybe a couple commands and instructions from players around you. But besides that, it all kind of goes into a bit of a tunnel vision.
Yeah, everyone was like, can you hear me? And I was like, absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just zoned in to the play and everything. Like I could hear the music like during between whistles and everything, bop to that a little bit, but like other than that, like I can't really hear anything.
Sometimes the music gets you. Like I remember it was a season finale. We were in Danbury and we were I remember I played a very good game. I was very happy and but we got to the shootout and right as we're about to go out, I hear the opening riff to Rush's Spirit of Radio.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And I remember just kind of air guitaring it right beforehand, just loosening myself up. And it was like, all right, I got this.
Yeah, that's when you know you're confident when you're just loose and like you know that whatever is about to happen, like you have control and you know you're gonna do your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like those are some super cool places to play. But like, how was it individually for you? Like, obviously, like you go throughout the season where you have ups and downs throughout the season. But like, how was the season overall for you individually?
So it was a little bit of a roller coaster personally. So we it was extremely unique that we only had three goaltenders rostered the entire year with the team.
Yeah,
And to get to be on one team in the Fed for a full season is not that common from what I could tell just looking at the transaction sheets
yeah.
throughout the whole year. So it was nice that I got to stay in one city. I can't say I didn't move around. Somehow I became a bit of a suitcase on one team. I think I moved a total of 5, 6 times.
Oh, me too. I moved like 5 times as well.
You could ask Gams. We were Gams Atama for anyone who doesn't recognize the name. He was we were roommates for the first like month or so of the season. We lived in a hotel for the first 2 weeks. Then we moved to I guess it would be like a apartment right inside the city for about another 2, 3 weeks. Area was a little sketchy. We were right across the street from the Binghamton Mets stadium, which
Gotcha.
is a cool location, but it got a bit rowdy because there was a bar right outside our door. Then we moved to a team apartment. Then I think I moved in that team apartment twice before moving to a solo place for like another 3 weeks and then back to the team apartment again.
A
I
lot of
think
moving around.
I kind of got to the point where I wasn't unpacking the bag, even if I knew I wasn't getting traded or anything like that.
That you're just picking your clothes out from the suitcase. Like that's what I did at the end of the year. I just didn't even worry about putting anything away. I just take it out of the suitcase, put it back in the suitcase. Like never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. But on the hockey front, it was also a bit of a roller coaster. I remember I got off to a decent start, but I had like you would know, any athlete doesn't want to give up the net, even if
Yeah,
they're not feeling very well. I started having a combination of like minor injury stuff, like tweaks, nothing crazy,
yeah.
but and then I got sick pretty badly, actually, in a game against Watertown. Mid-game, I started getting I caught the flu, and mid-game, I started getting vertigo, and I
Oh,
was just like the puck is like dancing like while staying still. Like it was just became a nightmare. I think I got yanked by like halfway through the second period after like two pucks just like rolled in through me on like basic butterfly saves. And I found myself as a low man on the totem pole for about like a month and a half, 2 months after that. But then I bounced back and kind of got my groove again. And it was like you understand like when you're a goaltender, when you're low, you feel about
yeah.
as low as
Low as
low
you
can
can
be.
get.
And
Yeah.
when you're as high as you are, you assume you could play in the NHL that night. But uh, I think I found a nice equilibrium by the end of the season, even when I wasn't playing in the playoffs, which I wasn't complaining about. We ran through the playoffs undefeated, so I wasn't like complaining to the coach or anything, saying like you should put me in and we'd be winning more games. It's kind of hard to argue that
See Max
when
going
the other
undefeated.
guy, McAnanima, he's one of my favorite goalie partners I've ever had. Him and Sam Levetsky, who was also there and ended up going to Elmira in the second half of the year. I was never complaining about ice time or anything like that with two guys who you actually knew were your friend and not
Yeah.
trying to stab you in the back or anything like that or talking talking I don't want to curse, but talking bad stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's nice when you have like goalie partners like that, like that. Like that's what I had this year. And like we're all buddies like on and off the ice. You're just having that healthy competition with fighting for like just getting better at practice and like if all three of you are two of you or however many like goalies you have, like if you're like having like healthy competition, everything like that, like you get better no matter what because you're pushing each other every single day.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you have a healthy goaltending rotation, I think that's huge for a team dynamic because if you're not feeling that awkwardness between two guys who should be playing for the same goal, the whole team plays better for it.
Yeah.
I mean, all you need to look at is the Bruins when they had Swayman and Allmark. Sad to see it break up now,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
when you have two goaltenders who are happy with their situation, you're going to get good results out of the both of them.
Yeah, exactly. And like you get the goalie hug like Sway and Allmark, and you guys also had like you guys had like the jumping hug or something like that or
Yeah, it was like a
something like
double
that.
dap up
Yeah.
low and then jump up for a shoulder bump. That was my idea.
That's a good idea, and like it starts like it makes everything become even more like looser within the room and everything, and with your goalie partners when you have that, and like you're everyone's just having fun at the end of the day. Then
Yeah, exactly. When you're coming off the ice with all smiles, no matter who got the win, it's a great feeling. It's feels like you won, not
yeah,
just not just the team or anything like that. It's you feel the satisfaction as well for your friend.
yeah, exactly. That's huge. But like obviously it's your first pro season, so like obviously there's a lot to learn throughout that season. It's like what are some of the biggest things that you learned through the first pro year?
Uh, it was kind of funny transitioning back to a real hockey first mentality. Not to say that in college it wasn't the hockey wasn't the forefront of your mind. I was
Yeah,
certainly skipping a class or two or a assignment to get ready for a game
yeah,
or for practice, but to have hockey be your livelihood definitely changed the dynamic because it puts a certain pressure on you that you could not be here next week. College, you might lose playing time, but you're pretty certain you're not going to be kicked out of the school for a bad night on the ice.
yeah.
It does change the mentality a bit, and I can't say if it's good or bad, but I think it's something you do need to get used to, change your mental framework.
Yeah, so like what is your like your mental framework like when you are going into games and practices and it's obviously anyone could get released or traded at any time, so you just gotta have that strong mental capacity.
So in the first half of the year when things were going okay and then not so good, it felt like everything was extremely life or death, which I really found wasn't conducive to good hockey. I think
Yeah.
most goaltenders would say that a little bit of mental freedom is good for their game. Some guys need to be completely dialed in and need a fire under them, so to speak, to really get the best out of them. But I'm certainly not that type of goaltender. So the moment I loosened up a little bit and was just like, well, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll reassess from there. But if I have fun with it, I'm pretty certain things will go my way more often than not, at least. And that ended up being the case. I had a total 180 with the season once I started having fun again, which wild concept, having fun makes you play better.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you always think you have to be so dialed and everything, but like if you're have loose and like I mean obviously everyone's different, but like if you're loose and having fun is the most important part, and like that's when your performance skyrockets compared to when you're overthinking everything. You're just becoming a little too tight. Like everything like diminishes then. But if you're having fun and playing loose and having that freedom, like you play unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't even just come down to like just having fun for the sense of winning and making saves. A lot of it comes down to too to not overthinking the way you're playing the game
Yeah.
itself. I was a bit too focused on trying to be perfect technically, like looking good to the camera, coach, or whoever may be watching, trying to maybe hope for a call up, like, oh, that's a dialed in goaltender who knows his fundamentals. But at the end of the day, you got to just make a save. Or I kind of reverted back to a bit more of an older style. I'm a big aficionado for 90s goaltending. And back when I was younger, I didn't have a consistent goalie coach until I
Yeah.
was 15, 16. The only thing I had that was I would consistently go back to, it's on YouTube, was a VHS tape, Jim Parks, The Puck Stops Here. And I think that had to have been came out in like the mid 80s or something. My grandpa got it for me as a gift because he's not going to recognize the difference
Yeah.
between that and modern goaltending. So I was rocking a an Osgood style Cooper helmet cage combo until my first year of juniors actually. Like, I love the classic style so much. Then still in my game, you'll see like in highlights and stuff, I'll bust out like a two pad stack or
You made a cartwheel save against us this year too.
yeah, exactly, something like that or windmills. I don't know, it just comes a bit more naturally. And when I'm having fun, I'm playing like that. When I'm overthinking it, I'm trying to be a bit too
Yeah.
much like a Carey Price, which doesn't really work so well.
Yeah, exactly. And like you went back to like the old school when you had like the Whalers night or whatever it was, and you had
Yes,
the old
yes.
style mask and everything like that. Like that must have been flash or a flashback from the past.
That was a fun that was a bit of a fun full circle moment to have to go full throwback to put on the that was my helmet actually in U18 like that one in particular. I was so happy the blue worked out
Yeah,
with the Whalers blue. My mask this season also was a bit of a kind of a throwback. I wanted to do a sort of best of all my previous masks. The base was like my first mask I had when I was shoot, I guess I got it when I was like 9 years old or something like
yeah.
that. So like gray brick wall, something simple like that. I took the eagle eyes from Brockport, stars from my time in the EHL with the Junior Rangers. So it was trying to put all the good vibes together into a single mask.
A little bit of everything. Gotta love it
Exactly.
though. Gotta love it.
If you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a gear nerd.
Hey, we all are at the end of the day. Like I see the mask behind you, like like everything. Like I love gear and like I could talk about gear like all day, every day.
Speaking my language, it's I don't know, I'm always fascinated by the little tweaks every single guy has or their
Yeah.
one little old spec that they won't give up or something like that. I'm so next season I'm actually doing pretty much a copy of Jonathan Quick's specs, like with his Vaughn pads, just
Yeah.
because I wanted to go back to a softer pad, something a bit more conducive to an older style of play. So I'm looking forward to getting those in person. But I actually got to meet him last week. We were doing
Really?
I was running a goalie camp and he was beginning to train. We were in the same locker room, so I kind of picked his brain a little bit with the pads, which was cool too.
Hey, at the end of the day, all of us goalies are gear nerds, and like we'll talk goalie gear, whatever. Like that's sick that you're going back to the Vons or and what Quick was using, like especially like old school style like that. Like that's gonna look sick.
So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why we all, I think, become goalies is because of the gear, like the customization you can do with the pads, the mask, like I guess getting hit with the puck, like. But I think it all comes down to just like the customization stuff for sure.
I've always been of the opinion that you become a goaltender for one of three reasons. Either you're a younger sibling, and a older brother wants to shoot the puck at something that's not just an empty net. Two, you fall in love with the gear, or three, you're you're the worst skater on the team and the coach just throws you in the net.
Yeah, I think majority of it is definitely the gear loving, but like you quickly learn that if you're the worst skater, you got to be the best skater eventually.
Oh yeah, I don't anyone who stays the worst skater doesn't stay a goaltender for very
No.
long, but in house league it tends to be the case where like, nah, just
Yeah.
leave them in the crease. They'll fall down and make a couple saves.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you just stand there, just stay in the crease and just have the shots just hit you. Like it's no big deal. Like that's what everyone says when it's youth hockey. But like as you grow up, you get the technical, the foundation, the skating. You're like, wow, this is a lot more than I thought.
Oh yeah, the funniest thing is when players try to put on goalie gear and the moment they get off, you're like, that was the most exhausting thing in my life, and my hips are killing me. They
Yeah,
just don't understand that everything we do is completely unnatural to the body.
yeah. It destroys the body, but for some reason we love it.
Well, it goaltending does attract a certain personality type. There's only been so many. I mean, I can't think of that many normal people who I've gotten to be goalie partners with. I think everyone has a quirk of their own.
Yeah,
Connor McAnanima was probably the most normal goaltender I've ever been like a partner with. And even he wasn't normal in the sense that he was he was unorthodox as a goaltender just because he was so it looped back around. He was so normal hockey player that it
Yeah.
was odd in its own way.
Yeah, there's a special quirk to everyone that's a goalie, that's for sure.
100%.
Yeah, but like throughout the season, like I heard that you guys also got to go up to Syracuse and practice with the Crunch. How was that experience?
Oh, that was really cool. So we have the nice distinction of being just the closest pro team to them.
Yeah,
So made for a happy sort of two-way street where we got to fill in for them, and in exchange we got to, you know, play at a level three steps above us, and it was cool to get a feeling of what the difference was between the two levels. And I really think it when you get to this point of professional hockey, the difference isn't there is a difference in individual skill on a player by player
yeah,
basis, but I think the quickest thing is the mentality. Like they just think on such a quick time scale that they're making decisions at a rate that are just almost unreal to think of because you you get used to a certain level where you could begin to read eyes, hands, little twitches like that
yeah,
at the Fed level or single A, whichever you want to call it, SP. But then you start getting to the AHL, and some of these guys have had NHL experience, and you start to see that in their minds. And it's like you begin to catch up by the end of skating with them for however long they've bagged you for like 2 hours. Like they
yeah,
might be slowing down too, but you're catching up in a sense that you're starting to read it, but it's never not amazing to see them like within a foot of you be able to get a puck up into the top shelf that you 99 times out of 100 are stopping in your with your normal teammates or
yeah,
with against another team in the Fed. So that was cool. And the coolest thing though was we got to work with the Crunch's goalie coach, and that was a huge help every time we got to see him. It was a good way to kind of tune our games back into something that was a bit more, like I said, technical isn't usually my thing, but when you have a goalie coach of that skill, it's good to see that they don't try to reinvent your game. They know you've gotten to the place you've gotten to playing the way you do. It's just
yeah,
about trying to fix the things that are blatantly wrong that wouldn't help you in any sense. Like he's not going to be mad that I make like a kick save or anything like that as long as the puck doesn't go in the net and it doesn't land on a stick for a rebound, but he's
yeah,
going to switch up like the way your shoulders are lining up with players or the way you're lining up on the post and reading a pass like into the slot or how you're getting up on that sort of thing. What angle you're going to take for a specific play, like when you could cheat, little stuff like that, things that don't really matter how you play. He made a great point actually was like Carey Price and Jonathan Quick might be the two most different styles of goaltenders you could possibly imagine, but they're both going to stop the puck at the same rate in their prime. It's just a matter of honing their style to a place that is as good as it could possibly be. So that was really cool.
yeah. That's sick to experience and everything like that. And like it is so much quicker. Like they think they it's like as you get to like these levels, like it's literally all about like the small minuscule details. Like there's nothing drastic that changes. It's just like the small details and like the mentality, like you said. And, like it's really cool to like see as you go up the levels, just how much of a difference that makes and how much less time you have to make a decision to make a save or as a player like quicker to get the shot off or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's one of the biggest reasons I come home to Long Island every summer is because we have a decent crop of pro guys here to skate with, two usual suspects I'm working with is usually like Shane Pinto and Sonny Milano, and then you see the hands difference between them and even like a Division I player. It's like, well, I can understand how you guys are potting 20 goals minimum in the NHL against the best goaltenders in the world. It's like, all right, I don't really feel that bad if I'm lined up against the post and you're ringing it like far down in like a
Yeah,
puck-sized hole. It's like, all
right
right,
between my
fine.
ear.
Fair enough. That's what you saw. You saw it. I know you're not going to slam me in the head.
Yeah. It's crazy because like they'll shoot there, but like they're hitting their spots, like, and they won't hit you in the head. They'll shoot for that tiny angle, tiny space, and they'll make it. It's crazy how much that small detail matters so much.
Yeah, exactly. You never stop marveling at the skill level when you get to play with guys of that caliber.
Yeah, exactly. Who was the hardest shot that you had to face when you're practicing with the crunch?
Uh, I'm the worst with names. I really wasn't looking at the roster very much.
Yeah,
It's tough. You could probably pull up the roster and figure out who he was, but he was this 6'5", 6'6" defenseman who teed up a one-timer and got me right. Not in the palm, because I think if he got me in the palm, it would have broken my hand, but
yeah,
definitely jammed up my fingers a little bit. So I use a like a 2008 era Brian's Thief glove, literally a baseball mitt.
yeah.
It feels fantastic in a game when I'm too pumped up on adrenaline to feel any pain, but come practice, it's a little bit more dicey.
Yeah, practice is different. You're not used to like all the like it's just right away in the morning. Like it's not being in enough to for you to feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that's unreal and like it's good that to experience like all that and like get that exposure as well. But I want to jump into your college career a little bit here. So you started 2 years at UMass Boston before transferring to SUNY Brockport. So like what was your college years like and like what made you go to UMass Boston first?
So my age out year of juniors, I was playing in the EHL with the Boston Junior Rangers, and we were good, but I had one of the best years of my life. I think I won. I ended up winning goaltender of the year for that year, and we were for the EHL All-Star game. I think they still do it now. They play against a like a Division III college team, and that the inaugural year was playing against UMass Boston. And in that game, I ended up splitting the game. I started it, but I stopped something like I think the number was like 37 of 38 shots in 30 minutes, and that caught their attention.
Yeah,
But
as it should.
they ended up they it was funny. I talked to the assistant coach, Corey Schneider, not the obviously not the Corey Schneider of the NHL, but same name. I believe he may still be at AIC or he may have moved on, but he was impressed, gave me the number and said, "We don't have a spot at the moment, but it will keep you in mind if something changes." Something did end up changing. They had a goaltender who ended up transferring out, so there was a spot for me to come in. It was between UMass Boston and Elmira, and I actually wanted Elmira more, but they couldn't give me a final decision
Gotcha.
by the end of the season, so I had to just pull the trigger and say, "Well, I guess I'm going to UMass Boston." And I'll, the Boston atmosphere didn't vibe with me very well because I went from being Boston quotation marks more closer to New Hampshire, actually right across from Merrimack with the Junior Rangers to actually like right next to the city of Boston. And I'm not a big city person. I
Yeah.
just didn't like it very much. In addition to, I had coaching issues with the head coach. Me and him didn't agree on very much at all. I tried my best to to mesh with him, but it wasn't going to be the case by the end of my sophomore year. I saw the writing on the wall. So I got lucky and hit up my old junior coach who said Brockport had been trying to recruit their current starting goaltender, but he was going to commit to UNE. That was Billy Gerard, and he's a fantastic goaltender. I got to see him practice my age out year. He was practicing with us a little bit because he was going to come in and pretty much replace me the next year. Him with Aiden Curry, who, funny enough, ended up being my goalie partner at Brockport when I got there. And no, the coach said, "Well, I told the Brockport coach you can't have my current goaltender, but you could have my old goaltender, who's just him but older." And
Older
within two
goalie.
weeks, I was committed to transfer over to Brockport, and it ended up being a fantastic decision. I loved my 2 years there.
Yeah, and like you got into games right away where you're the guy pretty much. So like what was it like going from like obviously you're not seeing the time you want with UMass Boston and everything, and then you get to jump right into being that starter role.
So it wasn't as clear cut as that, like the stat line may imply. So it was a close battle between me and Curry for who was going to be the starting goaltender, but I came out of the gate flying. So this was also after we lost the previous year to COVID. Nothing happened, so we had no season. So by the time the season was rolling around, it had been 3 years since I was getting anything resembling consistent, like real game action. I think, but in those 3 years, I've played 6 games,
Yeah,
which you go into a season finally and you're just kind of questioning yourself, like, can I still do this? Am I the problem? Like, or what's going on? Like, do I still have it in me? And then to almost surprise yourself in a sense that, like, okay, a year and a half of training and grinding really paying off was satisfying, to say the least. It makes you feel good about yourself and kind of confident going forward. Like, all right, whatever happens, nothing will be as hard as this. I could
yeah,
absolutely rise to any sort of challenge again after it. And it was a fun first year because we had a very veteran heavy group. We ended up getting to the second round of the SUNYAC, which is the farthest the program had ever gone. We had never I think maybe in like the 80s or something like that, we had won a game in the playoffs, but we ended up knocking off Plattsburgh in a overtime game in Plattsburgh, which is the first time in program history we won a playoff game
there we go.
on the road, and the first time we ever won in Plattsburgh. So that was a fun year. Like I ended up we lost 2-1 in the against Geneseo in the second round, and Geneseo ended up losing the national championship game. So we knew we were good. Like if
Yeah,
we had gotten past them, there was no telling what we could have done. So that's one of those missed opportunities where I was very disappointed. But I ended up tearing my hamstring actually in that game, which put a little bit of a damper and a slow start to the next season. But I turned it around again, like played decent in the second half, which led to some attention from Binghamton. The coach Sherwood was a SUNYAC guy himself, and was like, "Well, I like my SUNY guys. I know what they're about. They've been through the grind." So that was how I ended up getting connected with Brent Sherwood, and how I got to Binghamton, and that leads us to now.
yeah, it's a tough path going from UMass Boston to Brockport, and then like with like tearing your groin and or your hamstring, but like you're able to like recover, and then you're able to just fly out the gate, like you said, and like having that confidence is huge as a goalie. Like obviously everyone knows as a goalie and like as a player, when your confidence is up there, like you're just buzzing right through everyone. Like there's no stopping you. Like, but like when you face those obstacles and like have to overcome like a fork in the road, like that's when like you get stronger too. So like build that confidence and then hit that adversity and that obstacle and then climb over that. Like it boosts your confidence even more, which also boosts your performance as well.
Absolutely. If you could tap into past experiences like that and find something positive out of it and not get bitter, I think
Yeah.
that's a huge strength for a goaltender.
And it goes back to like the being like the mental framework too. Like once you can overcome that, like you can overcome anything that happens like throughout the course of your career and everything like that. Like you're gonna overcome the next obstacle, the next challenge that happens, and it just builds that mental resiliency.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where I was at when I was not playing for a decent stretch of time this past season, where I was like, well, look, I've gone longer stretches of not being the
Yeah,
guy and bounce back from it. If I stay the path and let my mind kind of ease back into things, I'll be fine. Even if it has to not be with Binghamton, I'll figure it out from there. But I'm happy stuck with it and
yeah,
forced myself back in the net.
yeah.
Because I mean, at the end of the year, to get to lift a trophy with the team you started out with is
Yeah,
something special.
yeah. That's huge. Like, what was it like winning the championship with Binghamton and like lifting that trophy at the end of the season?
Uh, I mean, it's tough to describe the feeling. Like, obviously, joy is the first emotion that comes
Yeah.
to your mind, but I think when you're holding it, it's a lot of it's satisfaction knowing that you made the right choices throughout the year to get to this point. You weren't there's nothing you're going to look back on and say, well, I wish we did this, because anything else you would have done might not have led to that final outcome.
Yeah.
And to do it, with a team that was as consistent as we were was something special too, because it wasn't like we got to the end of the season and like I recognize, like 5, 6 players still from like opening training camp. Like we still had us like 80% of the team that we had opened up with. So all these guys became my best friends by the end of the year, and to share some hardware with them was nothing short of special.
And some beer too after
Oh
that.
yeah. It's a couple photos of me, I think, cracking open a beer on the ice, pointing to the crowd and just chugging something.
Hey, I can't complain about that. It's the best when after you win a championship, just relax and enjoy the vibes with the guys and the guys that you went to battle with throughout the whole year. So yeah, going back to college then, like how do you think you developed over those 4 years that you played, especially those last 2 years when you're playing like every game? Like what was your development timeline like for that part of your career?
So my first 2 years at UMass Boston, we had a goalie coach who I liked him a lot as a person, but he was very adamant about trying to craft me into a different type of goaltender than I
Yeah.
was in juniors, and that definitely negatively affected me because by the time I got what little game action I did, I wasn't thinking about just stopping the puck. I was thinking about I have to do it the way he wants to, otherwise he's not going to put in a good word to the coach saying like, yeah, he won the game, but he didn't exactly look good doing it. So when I moved on from that, I it took a little while to reestablish myself as the goaltender I was in juniors, which in some sense the COVID break kind of helped because I was skating more so just anywhere there was ice. So I wasn't exactly worried about if it was what sort of practice it was, if it had to be with a goalie coach or not. So it just kind of allowed me to experiment again and figure out what was working naturally for me and what was kind of a battle to force into my game. So by the time I got back to Rockport, I was okay with doing a couple pad stacks or toe up glove saves again, which helped out a lot. The year after that, where I was coming off the torn hamstring, was a little tough because I had to reel it back a little bit. I couldn't be the full split like goaltender anymore. I didn't have that in my repertoire. So I did have to force a little bit of technical ability into my game, which in the long run I don't think was a bad thing because anytime as a goaltender you have more tools in your toolbox to work with, you're better off for it, even if
Yeah.
you may not use it all the time when you're feeling at top shape. It's still nice to know you have it in your back pocket. Same way where whenever I teach like kids when I'm doing goalie coaching, I tell them don't be afraid to get out of the box a little bit. If you gotta like, they don't really get the reference because they never feel like kids aren't exactly as in tune with the last era of goaltending. Where I say like, if you got a Dominic Hasek it, there's no problem. They'll be like, who? I'm like,
Who's that?
uh, yeah. I'm like, okay, if you got to Jack Campbell it, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of any goaltenders who are more recent who are
Or like what
saying.
does Jack Campbell do?
And even then, I'll be like Anton Khudobin, and even like he's been retired now for about, or at least out of the NHL for the past 2, 3 years, and
Yeah.
for a 10-year-old that may as well be millennia.
Yeah. Just can find different ways to tell the youth of do things out of the ordinary like these guys, and it's hard now, especially since you got the Hashicks, like they don't know who that is, and like
Mhm.
Jack, like you said, Jack Campbell, they're like who, like what does he do? And then Hudobin, like you might as well just go Jonathan Quick. Maybe they'll know that.
That one works a little bit more because usually I work in the New York or Connecticut area, and they're a little bit more familiar. Like, oh, the Rangers back up. I'm like, yes, you're technically right, but it's not who he is.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I think that's an issue with goalie training these days. Is a lot of kids don't know how to escape from like a technical prison they've had built around them. They think that if it's not a perfect butterfly to the back door, there it's not a good save or anything like that. It's and I think they're a little bit too it's a little too streamlined
Yeah.
where they train purely as goaltenders. Like when I was growing up, I would do power skating with the players in my full gear, like do crossovers, stuff like that, circles and whatnot,
Yeah.
training with them. And I think that helped me out immensely as a goaltender because you don't need to move in a perfect T push or a shuffle. Like you could get across the net pretty quickly in like a in a trot or say if you're like find yourself out of the net, you gotta like scramble to get back in. You gotta know how to scramble in your boots. You
Yeah.
can't just get up properly and like
And
adjust
you
back
push
to
over.
being a robot. You're not gonna get there in time.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit of creativity lost in the modern way of teaching goaltenders. But I can't exactly say that it's the worst thing in the world for them because
Yeah.
I mean USA has just a plethora of goaltending talent. I mean, we see it for like the Olympic projections. The USA's got what 5 guys who would be Team Canada's starter. So I don't know. I can't say for certain that's what they're doing is wrong, but I do think it's at least one thing we can improve on.
Yeah, like I used to worry about like being like technically sound and everything like that, but like as long as you find a way to stop that puck, like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because your job's to stop the puck. It doesn't matter if I'm like doing a cartwheel to make that save, cartwheel or cartwheel windmill, like butterfly, like T push butterfly, and then like glove save. Like as long as you make the save, you make the save.
Yeah, I mean exactly. It's with like Team USA's like current crop, like on the same topic of that. I mean, you can't exactly say they're all robots. Maybe the closest
Yeah,
thing to a robot Team USA would have is Hellebuck, and that's just a virtue of him being as big as he is. He has to conserve movement, and
yeah,
even he's able to get out of his comfort zone. I mean, like Swayman's an athletic goaltender, so is Ottinger. John Gibson should still be in the USA conversation if he weren't playing for Anaheim. Like
yeah.
he's about as wild as you could get in a modern goaltender.
Yeah, he throws those two pad sacks. He throws everything the whole like the whole modern style and like the old style goaltending. Like he's a hybrid in terms of modern and old style.
He's a guy I kind of wish, maybe not as an Islanders fan, I'd like to see him on the in the Eastern Seaboard, but as a hockey fan, I would really like to see him out of the West Coast so I could actually
Yeah,
watch his games a little bit more often. It was the
yeah,
same thing with Quick. A bit of a monkey's paw wish where I was like, I really hope he goes to an Eastern Conference team this year. I wanted to see him sign with the Rangers and think, well, crap, now I gotta watch the crosstown rivals
yeah.
play.
But
But
hey, at least you got your wish.
exactly. Somewhere, one way or another.
Somewhere in between. Just stop the puck, and that's all that matters. Doesn't matter what the style is, as long as you stop the puck.
Exactly. Goaltending is a simple game if you let it be.
Exactly. It's why it's the easiest position in all sports, as I say that in
Oh
quotation.
yeah, of course. Just what anyone would tell you if they try to get in the net. It's
Yeah,
very easy.
yeah, exactly. But no, it's one of the hardest, but it's a lot of fun.
No, we wouldn't be doing it if we weren't getting some perverse thrill out of denying other people joy.
Oh yeah, gotta love that. That brings the adrenaline through the roof. Yeah, but I want to jump
It's a
into
high. It's a high in itself.
yeah, exactly. But I want to jump into like your junior career, like you're talking about, and like you played for the Junior Islanders in the USPHL, Elite and Premier League, and then you played for the Boston Junior Rangers in the EHL. So like what was overall your junior hockey experience like? And like you said, like that was like when you're at the top of your game before going to college. What was your junior hockey career like?
So it honestly mirrored the college experience pretty closely where so I guess I'm kind of aging myself a little bit now, but back when I was playing the Premier and Elite, so Premier is what NCDC is now, and the
Yeah,
Elite is now the Premier. I was splitting time between those teams, and I don't think it appears on my EP, but I was also playing for the U18 Junior Islanders at the same time. So I was 3 rosters at the same time, and it was like grueling because you'd have to do a minimum of 2 practices a day.
yeah,
And as a 18-year-old, like even at the top of like, you know, young guy able to recover, it was still just grinding me down to nothing.
Now
And
imagine
coaches who
doing
didn't
that
really understand
now.
me.
Can't do that now.
No, certainly not. I see some of the younger guys I work out with saying, "Yeah, I've got two skates today." I'm like, "What are you doing, man? How do you pull that off? I want to die after one."
I only have the energy to do one, not two.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, it was another case of I had some coaches who really didn't understand me very well. So I I had played for the coach of the Junior Rangers, Rich DiCaprio, in spring tournaments before, so he knew me at least passingly, and decided to give me a shot to play in the EHL with him, which was generous on his part because I had a pretty miserable season in juniors the year before, so he was absolutely taking a risk taking me on.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting lucky with some fortuitous injuries and absences early in the season with the other goaltenders with the top EHL team, and I started getting consistent minutes. Funny enough, my goalie partner was a guy by the name of Sean Kuhn. He's SPHL fed
Yeah.
guy, so I'll probably be seeing him next year. Haven't seen him in a bit in person, but I've been keeping tabs on his career since. But uh, but yeah, I ended up once I started getting onto a roll and playing more games. Like my game found me again. It was I think it's a consistent thing with any goaltender is the more you play them, the better they'll get, especially for younger guys. Because I think it takes a certain skill to be a consistent backup. Like I respect the hell out of anyone who could be a consistent backup, like in the NHL, guys who have never been the guy, because it takes a talent to be mentally engaged after not playing for 2 weeks and to get a team points,
Yeah.
especially at the top level in the world. Like it's tough to do even in college, let alone professional hockey. So, but point being, I was getting played more and more, and things were going well. So it was once I got like the approval from a coach saying, I trust you, it just unlocks that a certain confidence where I could be myself and not worry that the next goal is going to be the last one I let up before I'm released from this team.
Yeah. So you're playing more free then because when you have that trust, because like when you have that trust, like you, you don't have to worry about coach judging you for putting up the windmill or the two pad stack. Like you can just go out there, play your game, and have like an open mind to everything.
Exactly. It was a similar theme to this season. I would say Brent Sherwood was probably one of the best coaches I've ever gotten to play under. Really a guy similar to Rich DiCaprio, where he almost admittedly said, I don't claim to be an expert on goaltenders. So as long as I know you're playing the game you want to and it's working, I will not question it, and I won't be a stickler for stats or anything like that. If we get the wins, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
complain and start saying you gotta do X, Y, and Z. Just gonna leave it as is and let the
Yeah.
weirdo be the weirdo.
Yeah, hey, that's the big thing about goalies. Like let the goalies play their game, and especially when you're at the professional level, like you're there. Like we were talking about before, you got to that level because of the goal you are and how you play. Like why would you change anything or try to fix anything? Like sure, tweak a few things that are like blatant that you can see, but like if it got you there, like why not change? Why would you change anything else?
There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I always say that with any goaltender, like I'm working with like her kids, like even up to like 15, 16. It's like you could adjust little things in their game, but by the time they've got muscle memory enough to actually make saves consistently, you don't need to overhaul anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. And like it makes your job a lot easier and it makes their jobs a lot easier because you're just not really like being like, oh, a stickler for this and that. Like you're just letting them play their game and be mentally free and that like we said this whole episode, that's when you're having fun, that's when you play your best.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll always tell like kids, like there is not a single goaltender in the NHL who plays exactly like another one. Even if they may have taken inspiration from another one,
Yeah.
you'll never find two of the exact same goaltender. So we got to find your game. We're not trying to find the game,
Yeah.
so to
Like
speak. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
like you'll pick a couple of things here and there from other goalies, but everyone has their own game.
exactly.
Yeah, but before we wrap this episode up, like what was youth hockey like for you growing up, and just like what really got you into being a goalie? That's the ultimate question.
Ah, so what made me say like I'm going to be a goaltender was so the first so my dad and uncle had been Islanders season ticket holders since the early 90s. So when I was born, in the moment they could bring me into the building, I was growing up there. But the first good Islanders team I remember watching was the 2001 2002 team, and they had gotten Chris Osgood
Yeah.
as their goaltender, and just seeing him play, I was like, whoa, now that guy's cool. Like I want to be that. And from there, I was always begging to be a goaltender. I was my dad knew the writing on the wall when he was like he tried to forbid me from playing goaltender in house league, saying if one more time if you volunteer to get into the net, I'm taking away your Game Boy for good. You can't play video games ever again. And I remember still thinking like I enjoy being in goal more than I like Super Mario. And I think once
Take it away. Take it away.
once I made that decision, he was like, I can't stop this. Behind his back, my grandpa for Christmas that year got me a set of pads. So that was I even as a kid remember kind of reading my dad's face of like feigned like excitement, like, ah, good job. That's awesome, buddy, while glaring over at my grandpa, like,
The
why would you do that? Why would you do that to me?
writing's on the wall then. You were meant to be a goaltender.
I got no I never had any aspirations to be anything but a goaltender. I when I hang up the pads, I'll hang up hockey for good. I don't want to
Yeah.
be skater, defenseman, forward, anything like that. Just goaltending is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like goaltending is so much fun. Like that, like I always like had aspirations to like even when I was like 5 years old, like of like I'd play like goalie and like street hockey and like basement hockey, like mini stick stuff like that. But like I played forward all throughout high school until I was 18, and then I switched over to goalie. And
Really late.
yeah, I was super late compared to like when like you would usually switch over from player to goalie. Like I played throughout like 2 years of high school hockey as a player, and like I was one of our leading scorers too. And then I just decided, yeah, I want to be a goalie now and stop guys from scoring. So ever since then, been a goalie full time.
The heart wants what the heart wants. You can't argue with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been there since I was 5. So I was like, why not just go play and pursue pro while being a goalie?
Yeah, it's once you know, you know. You can't take it away at that point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's a lot of fun. I don't regret anything. Like I love it.
How could you not? It's well, I know how a lot of people don't like it, and they're not goaltenders.
Yeah.
But anyone who's a goaltender, you understand why, even if
Goaltenders
you
get
can't
it.
fully explain it.
Goaltenders get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I have a few more questions before we wrap things up here from the Instagram Q&A. And someone said, "What is your favorite barn to play in besides bingo and besides Danbury?" Like, let's go. Let's
Okay, besides
eliminate what
those,
we talked about earlier.
okay, am I limited to the pro buildings or can I go?
You go where whatever you want.
Okay, so I played back in EHL, we did in the finals we played at Providence College, and for whatever reason I liked that building even if we didn't and we didn't win a game in the building for the finals. We got swept, but still for whatever reason I got good vibes from that building. I remember playing well in the games even if we lost,
Yeah,
but that one stood out. Uh I don't know. I always enjoyed when I was younger playing in like the pro buildings, like when you get to do like either a charity game or a
yeah.
one-off thing. It was always the coolest experience. I always felt like it brought a different level to my game because like that special feeling, there was nothing
It's
mundane
pro.
about it.
It's pro.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, besides that though, I can't. can't help but say I always loved playing at Brockport's building. It was so when we were good our first year, like the fans behind it were so engaged in a way they hadn't been before, which was a unique feeling. They made the building special in that way. I guess I really don't get attached very much to buildings. So
Yeah.
really beyond that, just the places where I have good memories are what I like the best.
Yeah, hey, that's okay. And like you just go in, do your job and try to get wins. Like can't complain about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like in juniors, we had possibly the worst building in the league, but I love it to death because it was cold, dark, and but it was home.
Yeah.
Real home ice advantage though, because we had a nice heated locker room and a gym, and the other team certainly didn't.
There you go. You'll take the advantage any chance you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the next question is, to the best of his knowledge, has Andrew Logar ever lost a game of sewer?
Oh, uh, maybe occasionally, but usually I would hear it because I'm superstitious. I will not play sewer or be anywhere near it before a game. I had some bad memories from juniors. I it was the first time I got called up to what then Premier now in CDC to play a game. And before the game, one of the veterans just absolutely teed off a ball straight into my nose and shot me back like down onto the concrete. I definitely had a minor concussion, but wasn't going to tell coach that.
Yeah,
So
no.
played the game woozy, didn't go that well. So really, since then, I will
Yeah,
not play sewer
it's bad
or be
bad
near it
memories
because I
with
don't want the
sewer.
ball to land on me.
Yeah, no. Especially like when the guys get into it, like you never know where that ball is gonna go.
Oh no, much to the much to the chagrin of the rink staff.
Yeah, exactly. But there's two more questions. Like, what's some advice you give to younger players looking to get to that next level?
Perseverance. If you truly believe that you're good enough to make it to the next level, you just got to make sure that nothing stops you from pursuing it. I get that there's circumstances in life that may stop you, and that's a
Yeah,
different story. But if you have the opportunity to take something, then you need to make sure you grab it. It's a lot of times it just comes down to personal will. Like I would like there's certain guys who maybe not you would look at them from a distance, say like how'd they get to this point? And they got to that point by doing everything that they needed to do to get to that point. They were never the first guy picked for it, but they made themselves either invaluable in different ways or they made sure that they were noticed. So whatever you need to do to get noticed, as long as you're not being obnoxious, of course, to a coach or anything like that.
yeah,
I've gone down that route too, and I don't feel proud doing it, but sometimes you just do what you need to get on someone's radar. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, as they say. But as long as you push yourself in the right directions, you'll get to where you want to go.
yeah. Push yourself to be the best, and if you truly believe it, like why not go and push for it as much as you can? Like you'll have no regrets at the end of the your career if you continue to push on.
Exactly. If by the end of your career you hang them up and you could look at yourself in the mirror and say, I did everything I could to push myself forward, and you could say that with all the confidence in the world, then it was all worth it in the end. You could sleep at night.
Yeah, exactly. That's huge for sure. But the last one is, do you wear cowlings on your skates and why?
Yes, I will never give up my cowlings. So so I remember I switched to the 1S's the first year they came out, and like they were decent, but I always felt the issue with Conless skates, especially two-piece ones, is that you just feel like you're on skis. Like you lose a lot of mobility.
Yeah,
I uh I wore the true one pieces for a while, and those were the closest things in balance to the the old the Bauer cowling. But there's a certain flexibility that like rivets kind of give, like almost a pseudo connect thing where like they hinge forward a little bit. It's a little softer in your feet. Plus, so what I was saying with the one pieces, the 4 millimeter steel I feel was a better base, which the Bauer cowlings have too. And from a money saving standpoint, Bauer cowling steel only costs about $20. So I think I've got about 7 pairs that I get sharpened all at once. I ship them up to Simmons in Buffalo. They like profile them, and then I don't got to worry about it for the next 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So price of one set of new steel, I get like 5 of the
Yeah,
old stuff. So I don't think there's
can't
that
really
much of a
complain
difference.
there.
Exactly. I don't think there's much of a difference either between like that attack angle stuff.
Yeah,
It's all just what's comfortable on your foot. I mean, you had guys like Ben Bishop using the full giant cowling like that, like went up the entire like ankle to the end of
yeah,
his career, and he clearly had no issues. Besides, the groin tears, but that's because he's 6'8".
yeah. And it brings like the old style goaltending like you like as well. So like, got to bring that back into your game too.
In
Can't
addition to it,
complain about
does there
that.
is a protection? There's a protection factor too, of getting
Yeah,
a lot of toe saves. That it's probably nice to have a little extra layer of protection going on.
yeah. Can't complain about the protection. Like any chance you can, just you got to protect yourself.
No, yeah. Except when it comes to wearing the a dangler. Never
Yeah.
gonna see me in one of those. Tried it for a
Yeah,
bit,
no.
gets in the way.
I tried it for half a year and I couldn't do it. You won't see me with that anymore.
I'll wear the cut protector just because I
Yeah.
don't like the turtleneck, just because I'm not willing to mess with open skin and blades. But you'll never see me wearing a bib or anything like that. Expose your clavicle like a man.
There you go. Can't complain about that. But Eggy, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck with next season. And I look forward to hopefully playing against you this season.
No, I much appreciate it. Hope to see you out there. Obviously, we'll have to be enemies by the time that happens, but for the moment, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.